いや、急な話でびっくりしたから、少し考えさせてくれ。
I'm literally gonna wait for you. And I see you're gonna be like, nah, I'm not gonna like it. I'm just keep watching.
Just subscribe.
And you think the clip gonna cut right here, but it's not, because I'm still waiting for you to click that like button. And the subscribe and the post notification button.
We're into the next season, and I should be talking about anime from this season. But there's one anime that I promised myself that I would talk about, and I wasn't able to talk about it last season. So I made it my mission to make sure that I do talk about it, because it's a genre of which I really care about, and that's slice of life / romance anime. And this anime was able to stun me based on just how impressive it was, to the point that I really had to take time to figure out what I was gonna say about it. And this anime that I want to talk about so badly is Makeine, Too Many Losing Heroines. But before I basically tell you about why this anime is so special to me, I have to tell you about what the anime is about. So basically we follow a character called Kazuhiko, who is a pretty interesting fellow, but he kind of blends in the background. But the thing that makes him pretty unique is the fact that, well, he's surrounded by heroin. And by heroines, I mean that he is surrounded by a bunch of women. This is not a harem, don't worry. He's surrounded by a lot of women who have dealt with rejection. And these heroines of this story, who ultimately are the stars of this entire season, are Anna, Lemon, and Chika, who have kind of wanted to go after their crushes and it did not work out. And so this entire anime is basically showing us how they kind of dealt with those situations. And that's pretty much it without spoiling too much. But what makes this anime pretty unique is the fact that Kazuhiko serves as a spectator. He's just like us in that he's watching all of these situations unfold and kind of watching them deal with the rejection. Because the interesting thing about this anime is the perspectives. Because on one side, you have a person like Anna who's dealing with the fact that her crush came to her to confide in the fact that he wants to be with someone else, but he doesn't know how and he feels like it might be too late, only for Anna to be a good friend and tell him to go after her. And he does. And then it works out, which then ultimately leaves her in a very painful situation in her having to accept the fact that she basically kind of gave away her opportunity and now he's with someone else. And then on the other side, you have a character like Chika who basically builds up the confidence to boldly proclaim to everybody that she is in love with her senior, only for her to basically lose that situation because it turns out that the senior that she's in love with, fun fact, they're all in the same club, is actually in love with another senior who's in the club. But this is kind of awkward because both of the seniors in the club are huge fans of Chika and honestly are more of a borderline older brother and sister dynamic towards her. And now it's kind of awkward because she just told one of her seniors that she's in love with him. But sadly, he rejected her and is now dating the other senior. So she just has to deal with the fact that she's in a club where basically she has to deal with her rejection every single day. And then on the other side as well, you have Lemon, who is the classic childhood love story. She's always had a crush on this individual, only to find out that right in front of her face, he would then fall for someone else. And it's pretty sad because on her side, it kind of seems as if she took too long to eventually confess her feelings, and ultimately she's too late as he's moved on to someone else. And she just basically has to deal with it while hiding those feelings. And this approach to all of these characters having different issues but basically dealing with the same issue of rejection was pretty unique, because also the characters were so unique in how they dealt with those moments. Because you have a person like Anna who's basically eating her way through the pain, because she would basically, whenever she would think about that situation, she would just start eating. This becomes borderline just a comical gag because she just eats a lot. But there's a moment where she had a conversation with Kazuhiko, which I found to be very honest and very mature, in that Kazuhiko kind of thought that Anna was was moving slowly and that she wasn't moving on from the situation. And what Anna told Kazuhiko was very mature in that she told him she has to basically live in that situation. She can't easily remove the feelings that she had because they took so long to cultivate, and it's going to take her time to eventually get over it. And ultimately, Kazuhiko just has to be patient and let her go through the situation at her own pace. And I found that to be very mature, but also this is very relatable because sometimes people just want to rush into getting better. She's taking her time, even though it seems like she's not going anywhere anytime fast, she is slowly moving. And then on the other side, you have an individual like Chika who basically has to deal with the fact that she has to become mature in front of an entire group because everybody knows that she's been rejected, and now it's up to her to basically wish two of the seniors who care about her well in their relationship and for her to grow out of that affection. But the one for me that really hit the most was Lemon because of just how relatable I found her story. Because with Lemon, she's an individual who surprisingly dealt with the situation in a weirdly mature but immature way, because she would try and exercise to try and burn off the sadness, but also on the other side she would try and quickly fill the void, to the point that there's times in the anime where you wonder if she has interest in Kazuhiko, because whenever Kazuhiko would be nice to her, she would borderline give him hints or signs that could potentially be misread into you believing that she has an interest in Kazuhiko now and she's moved on, when meantime she hasn't at all. In fact, she's sometimes mistaking his kindness for some sort of affection because she's trying to fill that void because of her crush finding someone else. Even later onwards in the anime, she tries to help her crush learn things about how to be with a girl, only to find out that when she confides in Kazuhiko, she's honest with him and tells him the truth in that she's just basically trying to spend time with him and fake a relationship in her mind. She wants that person to do well, but at the same time, she wishes that it was her. And this is something that I could relate to because, well, let me just give you a story. When I was younger, I used to have a huge crush on this girl. It turned out that she liked me. And to kind of move things quickly, she had to move to another town. And as such, the relationship that we had to come to an end because we wouldn't see each other as much. And that really sucked. So what happened is, well, I just had to move on, so to speak. But the problem is, I didn't, because in my mind, I cared so much about her that I couldn't move on. Why would I? If you really care about somebody, you shouldn't give up on that situation so easily. So what happened was, as I went into high school, I came up with this dark plan. I would basically gain XP. I would find girls who are similar to her. And my plan was I would try and basically become the man that she would want, or the person that she would eventually see me for. So basically, I spent most of the time in varsity entering a bunch of, to be real with you, meaningless relationships, because in my mind I just wanted to perfect this man that she would like. So in my mind it would all work out, but truthfully I was also just using them to fill the void because I was not with her. And ultimately the opportunity to be with her came up, and when it did show up, well, my worst nightmare came true, because the girl that I had been working so hard for, this idea that was stuck in my head, everything I had done to basically earn my way to being this man that she would want, was human. I found that when I would hang out with her, she was flawed. I found that she wasn't necessarily as kind as I thought she was in my head, and sometimes she was very impatient compared to what I thought she was. But the feeling was kind of mutual because she kind of saw different aspects of me that weren't there. I had become colder and more deceptive. In my whole mission of finding her, I was basically perfecting this dark art where I would enter these relationships and hide all of my feelings of lust and adolescence and basically learning under the guise of love. And I would do this quite often. And the issue is that, well, I think she kind of saw through that. And she could also tell that I wasn't necessarily in love with her. I was more in love with the idea of her than her. But to kind of make a long story short, the biggest loser in this entire situation was me. I had to start all over again because everything that I had based my preferences and what I wanted and what I liked, everything was based on her. And once I realized that actually I don't really like her like that anymore, I had to start all over and understand who I was. And that was the importance of basically accepting the void. Instead of just rushing into another situation and trying to fill the void as fast as possible, which is something a lot of people try and do, I decided to just sit in solitude to try and understand myself better. And I came out better. And this is something that I found really relatable with Lemon's story. I could see everything that she was doing, and sometimes I could relate to it because I probably did that as well, just trying to basically be with somebody even if it meant lying to myself. And that was something that I found pretty impressive considering the fact that this anime is in high school. And this is just some of the things that this anime can make you feel, because it can remind you of certain things that you've went through, or if you haven't, it can kind of teach you what happens to people who go through these types of things. And I find this ability of this anime to give you so many different perspectives, but also give you really well written stories pretty amazing. But of course, with the positive has to come the negative. I have two issues. The first one is that at the end of the anime, I didn't really like Chika's story, based on the fact that the first two characters in Lemon and Anna are so robust that when you finally get to Chika's arc, it kind of feels like a wet blanket. It's slow, it's not as hyped, it's not as energetic, it's not as in your face in terms of how it handles the issues. And at times I would find that to kind of be dull, because you would feel like the episodes are dragging at times. So that really wasn't my favorite arc, but I kind of understood the importance of it. And then my other problem is, it's pretty simple. It's the fact that it's in high school, because I don't know why there's such a huge obsession on always finding romance in high school, when truthfully there's more range that you could get outside of high school. Because once you leave high school, a lot of interesting things can happen, romantically or just in life. You may think you know what's going on in life in high school, but you'll really know it once you leave high school. And I think that I'm just bored with the fact that we're always in high school to try and learn, especially a sensitive topic like romance. It kind of is awkward because honestly, depending on your age, you're watching high schoolers, and it's kind of weird because even in these characters being in high school, some of the subjects that were discussed could have easily been pushed at an older age or like past high school, but I don't know why. But basically with this anime, what you're getting is really good stories that have substance, but also a lot of different perspectives. It's funny, it's pretty dark, it's pretty sensitive at times, it's got a lot of emotions within it, and I like that because you're really getting to understand the human mind at times. The animation is beautiful, surprisingly. I don't even know why they went so hard, but they did, and it results in a pretty stunning anime to watch, which then goes with the fact that it has an amazing story, and the music itself is pretty chilled. So with it, you just have this perfect mixture of beautiful visuals, amazing stories, and then you have music that will accompany it that gives a beautiful accent to everything given. So would I suggest watching this anime? Yeah, I would, because if you're a fan of romance anime, I think that even though the setting is stereotypical at this point, it's an anime that has a lot of give in it because of what it's able to do with the short amount of episodes that it had, considering the fact that it stopped at 12. It's an anime that hasn't left my mind ever since it's finished, because it kind of forced me to really address some of the issues that I kind of didn't really want to talk about in my own head. And I would suggest you watch this if you want to have an experience of growth and kind of learn a few things from an anime that is, well, unfortunately stuck in high school.